Hello and welcome back to Dark Static, a podcast where we discuss everything found footage and analog horror media. I'm your host, Alex Schiffer, and with me always is Zach.
Hi, it's me.
This week we're covering VHS, directed by Adam Wingard, David Bruckner, Ty West, Glenn McQuaid, Joe Swanberg, and Radio Silence. Yeah, we're doing VHS. VHS is kind of the long-running found footage franchise. It's the only one currently going right now. Besides, I guess, Blair Witch. But I don't know what's happening with the new project they got going on. There's also Hell House. Oh, we'll do Hell House as well. But yeah, this VHS. We're like 7-8 movies deep into VHS.
VHS is like the new Friday the 13th. It's like an annual,
they come out every year
event.
now. They come out, and that's like a recent thing too, because I remember when it was on like hiatus, or not even on hiatus. Like they had one movie come out and it was not as well received, and then the franchise just went away for a while, and then came back with VHS 94 a couple years ago, and then since then they've been riding a wave. You know,
It might have been 85. Was it the 80s one that was the one that came back? Sorry, that's not
90s. I think 94, 99.
Oh, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Okay, yeah. One of them,
yeah. But yeah, now it's this long-running yearly franchise, and it started with this film that came out way back in 2012. This was a time where the found footage subgenre was kind of running its course. It had kind of a boom after the success of Paranormal Activity, and we were getting found footage movies all over the place. You know, the late aughts and early 2010s. But VHS was kind of the last, during that end period. Then it just came back, which was really nice to see. VHS was originally incepted by a guy named Brad Miska, who is, I think he's the founder of Bloody Disgusting. The VHS franchise is made by Bloody Disgusting, basically. What they did was they wanted to use all of their relationships they've made over the years with a number of talented filmmakers and create this anthology of found footage films. No, it just gives the opportunity for a lot of talented filmmakers to give their takes on the found footage genre. Let's see what this filmmaker can do with the found footage technique. Let's see what this filmmaker can do and how they contrast with one another. And there's a very telling interview with Brad Miska about the developing of the VHS, about the first VHS movie at least, where he says, it's his interview he did with IndieWire, where he says they pitched us their ideas, they came to us with treatments and scripts. It was like, if you like this, go do your thing. In terms of the movie itself getting greenlit, the storyline that runs through the whole movie was something that we had originally discussed. So we just went with the decided upon streamlined story and just let the filmmakers do their own thing, which is kind of a reverse of how you're supposed to do a movie like this. You're supposed to do that last. It became a fill-in-the-hole type project. What can we put here? What can we put there? What would amp it up here? So it was a living project, a living film, if you will. That's kind of, as someone that's seen, pretty much every VHS movie, that seems like the main thesis of all these films. It is a hodgepodge of different ideas, and where there's, not many barriers. The only barrier is it has to be short because there's a certain runtime. But, how much can you pack in to one segment of a film? But yeah, yes, this is where we first encounter the VHS franchise. I feel like I heard about this film when it was released. Like, I was following found footage films pretty regularly around this time. I've been obsessed with found footage films for much longer than I even remember. And I remember seeing like the marketing for this coming out. I remember seeing the trailers and everything, and just kind of being excited about the idea of an anthology. because there's so much opportunity for an anthology. I love anthologies in everything. If you listen to my other work, you might get that feeling too. But I love horror anthologies, fantasy anthologies. I'm an avid reader, and I love just like I love the idea of the genre specific magazine. And that's kind of what VHS is like. VHS is the found footage magazine where you open it up, you turn to a page and it's one film, and then a couple pages later, a whole other film starts. And if you didn't like the last story, you might like the next story. And they're all contained in their own little worlds.
Trying to remember like what put me onto it. 2012, so I probably didn't get around to it until like my first year or semester of college. I think I heard about it making like the festival circuit.
Yes, because it did
And I
premiere at Sundance, I believe. Yeah, it premiered
was
at
it
the 20
Sundance?
it premiered at the 2012 Sundance Film Festival in January.
Okay, that's definitely how I heard about it, and I immediately wanted to track it down. I think I saw a trailer early on as well, and the trailer intrigued me. And I also loved found footage horror movies at this time. I wasn't totally sick of them. It was only maybe a couple years
A lot of people were.
prior. A lot of people were. There were still some interesting ones being made,
But there was an
but they were like
overexposure.
very few and far between. Yeah, there was a huge overexposure, but we weren't at like peak overexposure yet, which I think would
No,
be
no.
like the next couple of years, when they really just killed it dead. Yeah, so I immediately also this film, like you could tell right away, the anthology concept was interesting, and the tone of it was communicated through the trailer, and it was immediately very different from your Paranormal Activity, where you're following these main characters who are a little bit more like clean cut. This movie had like a seediness to it, and I think that's
Yeah.
that's the entire point of the concept of the VHS is like the VHS in and of itself as an artifact in this movie is like a dirty object that you're working through. It almost feels like you're going through like the modern internet, or like what was that website called? Live Leaks, like that kind of thing, or Faces of
Live.com.
Death.
Yeah.
Faces of Death was very much the vibe. And so yeah, that immediately the tone of it, I was like, what is this?
Yes.
I love horror in general, and the idea of an anthology meant that like each thing could be its own thing. And I was probably in for something more interesting than just another ghost story, which I was getting sick of at
Yeah.
that point.
This was like when it came out, like the closest thing that resembled, because I've talked about this before, how I was a very curious internet teenager, to say the least. And I was on gore sites. I just wanted to see everything. The VHS, at least the first VHS, had the aesthetic of like the griminess of going to those websites and that kind of visual fidelity. It was really the first film I saw that was like it was found footage that was stylized, whereas other found footage films were as they were based on the technology available at the time, and they were just getting cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. And this movie was like, we're going back to the like grainy retro analog style that you remember from the 90s.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, I guess like I was the right age and the right amount of edgelord to have that appeal to me. Yeah, what are your overall thoughts on VHS?
I distinctly remember. So I saw it my first time over a decade ago.
Yeah.
It was 2012, close to its release. Then I watched it again recently with actually you and some friends.
Did we watch the
back
first
in 2016? We watched the first one.
I remember watching the
And I
first.
remember
You're right.
because our friend would not stop going around repeating the catchphrase of the siren. Like, I like you.
I like, yeah.
I glommed onto that. And God bless his soul. That means I have not seen that movie in like, yeah, geez, I mean, 2025 now, so it's been like 9 years.
Well, it's funny, like when you
Um,
think about VHS, like the first one, this isn't the one you tend to revisit because there's been so many now. There's either always a
yeah,
new one or there's one particular part of this franchise that you and I will both talk about it when we get to it, but that's the part we usually revisit when we think about this franchise. But this movie, it has the advantage of being the first one, but it is kind of just the first one.
yeah, this is not representative of the exact tone of the rest of them.
No.
Like they evolve over time and they've settled into a new thing, like a very
Yeah, it
a
grew.
more genre distinct tone. Yeah, they're pulpier now, but the tone of this one I remember put me off the first time I saw it when I was younger. In a way that actually I think I remember not liking the majority of the movie. I remember some responses to it. Maybe I was a little influenced by them, but I remember some people calling the movie like misogynist at the time.
Yeah.
And rewatching it, maybe I'm just a different person, but I'm less bothered by that. Maybe it's because I understand the movie's general tone is seediness. I mean, you're immediately
Yeah.
met with, I mean, we'll get to it, but like you're immediately met with characters who are like the scum of the earth.
Yeah, like delinquents.
That maybe I just didn't get it the first time around, but this rewatch, I mostly enjoyed it. There are definitely, it's
Yeah.
uneven. Like there's
It's
definitely
definitely
segments
uneven.
that are way better than others.
There are more
Which is kind of the nature
consistent
of the anthology.
there are more consistent films later on in this franchise
Yeah.
where not every segment is perfect, but every segment properly builds off of the pacing of the last one. Where this feels more of like, as I said before, like a hodgepodge. Like we're gonna do this here, what goes here. Kind of what Brad Miska said in his interview. They kind of made the film backwards, and in effect, I mean, it leads to a lot of creativity, but also, maybe it can also lead to less cohesion, which is definitely reflected, I believe, in the first film at least.
Definitely. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that.
I'm in a similar place. I watched this again recently for the show, and then I watched it years ago. I had seen it maybe a few other times in between, and my opinions on it never wildly shifted or anything like that. Building off of what you said about it being, kind of delinquent and, having this
Mhm.
very edgy aesthetic, and, it's kind of grimy. There's a very like, this isn't your mom's found footage horror movie attitude to a lot of, to this film specifically.
Yeah.
It can be read as very immature. I think it makes sense regarding like who directed the whole like interlocking segments, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
And that's kind of their thing. Like it's a very edgy tone, a very like I want to say like punk rock. It's not as cool as that. It's not as cool as punk
Yeah.
rock. But yeah, the use of just like the use of the delinquent characters and the use of, and not even delinquent characters in this in the first the interlocking segment, but segments, the individual shorts is kind of a persistent theme too, which we'll get to. Overall, I think it's good. I think it's solid, and there's some great individual parts of it. But I don't think it ever comes together as a whole that well, which is weird to say about an anthology film. But at the end of the day, you also have to view it as one film. How much did you enjoy the individual segments versus how the film works as a piece together. And in that regard, it's, I think it has a lot more shortcomings than it does, positive characteristics, but including one segment that we'll get to that I think I kind of just don't get.
Yeah.
I don't.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, not getting as in like not even like a heady way, but in like a what was the point of that again? What is that trying to tell me? I don't know. I mean, overall, as like just as a found footage, as a group of found footage films, and as like kind of this playground for filmmakers, it's creative. Like it does have some great ideas, and in the future they will have even better ideas, and this franchise will reach very good height. Like this franchise will reach incredible heights, and we have to lay the foundation. And I think this film works as that. It's a solid foundation. I feel like when I talk about it more in depth, or try to talk about it more in depth, this is going to be different from past reviews. And this was always my fear about doing this podcast. It's just that like found footage movies recently have a lot more to them, I feel, because the internet just is more a part of everyone's life than it used to be. And it was a part of everyone's life back in 2012 too, but I don't think movies were investigating that. When we get to these films here, they still aren't doing that. They're a lot more surface level than I'll talk about with like, a show like last week's episode about Mind, Body, Spirit, or even Milk and Cereal. Definitely not The Outwaters. We went on a 3-hour fucking like investigation of like the many symbols and things in that film and what they mean. This movie doesn't have any of that. It just kind of has sick, but it is good horror. It has sick gore at points. It has, I don't think it's scary, but there's cool stuff in it.
There's really atmospheric set pieces and moments that are like,
yes,
there's at least one in particular that has stuck with me for the past 10 years.
Yeah. I guess the last thing I'll say about it is that there are a couple of filmmakers here that I revisit now, and I read like a name like Ty West, and I'm like, oh
yeah,
I forgot. I watched that back in 2012, and now that guy's blown up, and it's fun to see stuff like that. And we'll get to that when we discuss those segments in particular. I think I want to get this out of the way. There is, and it has to build off of the thing I said about anthologies too. The thing that works, I think, so well about the VHS franchise is that it does have this framing where it's people in the world of VHS watching the tapes. That gives a lot more of an open opportunity to make you kind of believe it more, because they're not watching films in our world. They're watching films in their world. It kind of explores found footage as a mechanic for world building, which I haven't seen a lot of other things do. A lot of other movies do, and I like that a lot. I like that it's like it makes things, even with the segment that I'm saying like I don't understand, like maybe in their world they understand it, but it works as like a reality of their world rather than one in ours, where it's like you go and watch the Blair Witch Project, and that movie exists. The illusion of that, there's an illusion in that movie where it exists in our world that draws in a lot of what's terrifying about it. Whereas this gets to just have a little bit more fun, and I always appreciated that. I like the broader world building aspects of the VHS franchise. Not saying that everything is interconnected or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying at all. Nothing. I don't think anything is interconnected. For me, standouts in this film are the amateur night segment, the second honeymoon segment, and the final segment, 103198. And to me, like, that's enough to sustain the movie. And in the segments that I don't like, they don't take too long. And they're kind of, they all have a different flavor to them. And even if you don't like a segment, it's over, pretty quickly. And then we just get on to the next thing. So I think this film's well paced.
Yeah,
Sometimes
it's
sometimes it gets a little out of control with dialogue, and some of these performances are, they're not like, I think they're all right mostly. I think they're all right for what they are, or for what they're trying to
yeah,
do. It is fine.
it's a scrappy movie.
It's a scrappy, yes, that's the right way to say it. It's a scrappy movie. But yeah, let's get into the film proper. I have the plot summary from Letterboxd up right here. VHS 2012. This collection is killer. When a group of misfits is hired by an unknown third party to burglarize a desolate house and acquire one rare VHS tape, they discover more found footage than they had bargained for. Let's start out with the main framing device of the film, which is tape 56. And this whole segment, pops up. It's the thing that kind of ties the whole movie together. All these segments are directed by Adam Wingard, who we've talked about if you've listened to our Blair Witch 2016 podcast.
Yeah,
He comes up. He comes up quite a bit.
yeah.
He directed Blair Witch 2016. He directed Your Next. He directed The Guest. He's been directing those Godzilla versus Kong movies. I think he's coming back.
I love Your Next, and I love The Guest.
Yeah, I think
definitely recommend those two.
Absolutely. I think he's coming back to horror soon, but we'll see. Go listen to the Blair Witch 2016 episode if you want our opinions on Adam Wingard. We had a lot to say about him. The film starts with this gang of criminals, and they're recording themselves committing various crimes, and including this first crime where they're in a parking garage, and they just straight up sexually harass this woman. They, like not rip her shirt off, but they get her to flash the camera like forcibly, and it's icky, really icky. And it cuts between them vandalizing property, crashing window. There's so many smashing of windows and smashing of things in these little segments here. And that's a lot of where the this isn't your mom's like attitude that I get from the film. It's so like, is immature the right word? It is very of it. It's so Gen X.
Yeah, it does feel like I don't know why it feels like it plays better now. Maybe because I just like actually believe that there are people like that. Feels less contrived now, but
it's so silly though.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Like I get it. I'm in between about it. I get it. They're establishing that these guys are like a level. This is what they do. They're like the type of people who like stand at the top of a bridge and they throw rocks at cars that go by underneath. Like they have no consideration for anyone else around them, including their own friends. They're like truly scum suckers.
Absolutely,
like they're the worst.
It has to do also with like, this is kind of just, it is painting a certain world where it's like the world of VHS is kind of stuck in this time. I kind of like that about the movie. It's like, yeah, there's these guys, they're hired to get this specific tape, and it's like, that's just an occupation in this world, It's like someone being a thief in a fantasy film or something.
Yeah, because they make porn, right?
It's something to do with porn. Yeah. I didn't get that. I don't know if that's ever like fully extrapolated.
Or I guess it's not legitimately porn because they are selling these videos of them sexually assaulting, harassing these women.
They sexually assault people, and there's also like This thing about like this movie is taped over. This movie is taped over a guy trying to film a sex tape. At least
Right.
this
Yeah.
at least this segment is. These movies are very horny, by the way. Lots of nudity and lots of people wanting to get it on in these movies. And yeah, that kind of adds to like the very that adds to like the edge of these films and how that and it can be off-putting to a lot of people. But I think it fits with the world they're creating. And
Yeah.
by the way, the visual fidelity of like kind of all these films like onward is perfect.
Yeah.
It is the perfect amount of
I
like of grain and like grime. It's the perfect amount of like lo-fi basically.
this it tells you something. Honestly, it furthers their characters because understanding what kind of camera they have tells you more about them. And they have
Absolutely,
a
yeah.
trashy digital camera.
Yeah. It reminds me of like I don't know cameras that well unless they're like I'm told what they are. Like I know that in Blair Witch they were using a high 8. I don't know what they're using here. It kind of reminds me of the same, at least the same like resolution, and that adds something at least for me. Another thing about these movies
Yeah.
and this about this film in particular and about some of the later VHS movies, there's not a lot of music.
Diegetic music or
There's not a lot of non-diegetic music. There's not a lot of music that the characters can't hear. There might be like
right, which
sweeteners in some segments that are like not meant to be that noticeable. And this is a common complaint I have a lot about some recent found footage movies where there's too much non-diegetic music and kind of takes you out a bit.
yeah.
But
I was gonna
these
say like older ones do that less.
they do, yeah. The older ones do
That's
that
like
a
a
lot
trait
less,
of like the older ones.
and they're kind of doing that here too. There's just not a ton of music, and it's just kind of it's a bit more immersive in some segments, where it really feels like you're watching a tape someone made,
Yeah.
which is funny because some of the shit is so ridiculous, and you can only buy it as existing in their world, which is why I think is the reason why these movies work in the first place. But yeah, I feel like also during this time, horror in general took a little while to grow past the 90s, and we're kind of seeing the tail end of that in these movies.
What do you mean by that? Just like they were in love with the aesthetic of the 90s or
Yeah, like horror directors that grew up in the 90s were now making movies, and that's kind of I mean that was very early internet too. Like found footage is sort of born of early internet,
that's true,
and
yeah.
the kind of people that were like making these films are of that are kind of that subculture. Not even found footage, even just like all horror at that time. And I know of a lot of movies that have this sort of like this very edgy attitude.
Yeah.
There was definitely a time for these kind of movies, and we like this was the tail end of it, is what I'm trying to say.
I see what you mean. Yeah, like
Yeah,
the meanness too of this movie is
yeah,
like because I like mean horror movies, but this is mean in a way where like it's like imbalanced, like it feels like pointed, and that kind of lackadaisical meanness is very much like a Gen Xer thing.
yeah.
That's like very much like a 90s, early 2000s type of vibe where it's like, oh, who gives a fuck about anything? Or edgy for edgy's sake. The era of Jackass and Spike TV.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah,
Hell
Manthers,
yeah,
dude.
Joey kind of lost me. We were like, wait, those are kind of sick things. Spike TV, Jackass, man.
I mean, Jackass is sick, but
Jackass is
it
so sick.
also
Jackass
I just
found
needed the
footage. Maybe we'll
time.
do that.
That honestly is like a haunted
A
Jackass
hell to
set.
Jackass.
Like oh, they dare each other to stay in a haunted house.
That's
There's actually
I'm
There might be
imagining
a
because
premise
there's a
here.
basis. Like there's so many YouTube channels that suck that like that concept. But I'm just imagining like Bam Margera stays in a haunted house, and I'm loving it. Like what?
Yeah, a fucking
Bam
ghost like
Margera
just
and
punching
Johnny
me in the wall.
Knoxville. Speaking of that
That sounds
though,
great.
that's kind of also similar to what we have here. Like it kind of feels like yeah, like I think you actually put the nail on the head with the Jackass comparison. This is very like MTV coded.
100%.
Yeah. But moving on, so they're hired by this unknown employer to break into abandoned house and retrieve a specific VHS tape. It's something to do with porn. Upon arrival, they find this old man dead in a chair. He's surrounded by static-filled televisions and a large collection of VHS tapes. This is the simplest way you can set up an anthology of VHS style found footage horror movies. Someone finds a TV with a bunch of tapes and starts watching them, and that's kind of what we have here. I do kind of like the overall vibe of these segments where it's a lot of shaky cam and confusion, and the audio isn't always clear too. Like someone will speak off camera and it's like they're not mic'd up, so you're not fully going to hear what they say, but you're going to hear something off to the side, and it just adds to this like kind of chaotic atmosphere that I like. But they begin watching these tapes. The first person that puts the tape in and starts watching it is Adam Wingard. And I believe his writing partner Simon Barrett is also in this segment too, and I think he wrote some of it as well. But he's also an actor in these segments. So they begin watching the tapes with one member staying behind to search the house while the others view the footage. We get to our first segment, Amateur Night. This segment is directed by David Bruckner, who's actually done a lot. David Bruckner is actually known for a lot of some pretty good films. He's worked on other VHS projects. He's worked on most recently 85. I think he directed a segment for that. But he's also directed movies like The Signal, Southbound, which is another movie we'll discuss as well. He directed a segment for that. But he's also directed the movie The Ritual that was on Netflix.
That was like a bit of a hit too. I think most
Yeah,
people know what that is.
he's a pretty successful director. The Ritual, The Night House he directed, which I also really liked. And he directed the recent Hellraiser remake, which
Oh,
wasn't bad.
okay.
So
Wasn't bad.
he's got chops.
I think I've seen Siren. I think I saw it a while ago,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a really interesting movie.
I've never seen that. He didn't direct that. He wrote it though.
He wrote it. Okay.
Yeah, that movie's based on Amateur Night. That movie
Wait, what?
that movie's based on this segment.
Wait, did I say the Siren or did I say the Signal?
Well, he directed a movie called The Signal, and then he has another movie called Siren. And
Oh, I meant the Signal. Sorry.
Okay,
But
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yes, there's a spin-off of this segment.
Yeah, there's a spin-off of the segment called Siren, which he didn't direct, but he wrote. I actually haven't seen that.
Haven't I?
Yeah, Amateur Night. I dig this one. This was a great first segment to kind of introduce the franchise with.
This is my favorite.
This is your favorite?
This is my favorite.
Yeah, it's hard to say that.
shorts.
Yeah, I'm sure this is a lot of people's favorite too. It's kind of just the most like from beginning to end, solid, like tight, just like a fully realized concept. Just
It
done
has
really well.
like the coolest special effects and like makeup work. I think in the film, the monster, the creature is
1,000%.
really like
Yeah, definitely the best
iconic
makeup
looking.
work.
Yeah, yeah. The pacing is great.
I like the casting of the main girl too is great. Like she has these giant bulging eyes.
That actress is so good.
Let me get to who's in this segment. Hannah Fierman is as Lily. She's the main girl we'll talk about. Yeah, Hannah Fearman is Lily. Mike Dolan is Shane. Joe Sykes is Patrick. Drew Sawyer is Clint. Jasper Lewis as Lisa. Most of these movies have unknowns in them. There's and that kind of adds to everything too. That kind of adds to VHS being kind of its own little world here. That it'll change over time. I can name at least one segment where there's an actor that I recognize in future VHS films. But other than that, yeah, mostly unknowns, which I always think is a plus about these movies.
Yeah, I think the biggest, weirdly, I mean, the movie with the biggest lineup or the most consistent lineup is, like, they're still kind of like, not the biggest names, but they're names I recognize. I mean, Joe Swanberg is an actor I recognize. Yeah, it's Second Honeymoon, which we will get to later.
Yeah. So this, Amateur Night starts out with these three men, Shane, Patrick, and Clint. This main trio you have here. They have a night on the town, and one of them, Clint, is wearing these camera glasses, and they go out for a night drinking and planning to bring women back to their motel. This was an era where we talked about in Mind, Body, Spirit in their last episode, covering Mind, Body, Spirit, where I really appreciated that we were out of this time where everywhere the camera was placed needed to be explained in some way. That happens a lot in the VHS films because they have to do this in almost every segment.
Yeah. The fact, what I enjoy about the VHS movies and what they embrace more and more, I mean, some of them come up with very creative, playful ways to explain the found footage nature of the short film. It really is just pulp for pulp's sake. Like, there's almost no reason. I mean, I guess the first VHS is the most motivated because it's trying to show you this sleazy underbelly, so that showing you like really shitty camera footage that some sleaze bag recorded with their spy camera is a good reflection of that. But a lot of the movies, especially later on in later films, it's almost like they don't need to be found footage movies. Like, they could just be short films in general. But I kind of like that about the VHS movies, that they are
they're
just
using they're using it more as like the technique. They're not really trying to convince you that this is real, but they're just it's an excuse to use the camera in a more creative way. But here, they're trying to these characters put a camera on this guy's glasses and they're just gonna have a night out drinking, and there's a lot of like bro-y dialogue in these, like generic horny bro dialogue in this segment. That's kind of just like white noise to me. I'm sure if you focus in on it, it sucks. Like it's bad, but I think the way the film presents it, it's like it kind of just passes by you, and you're it's also like very strange that they went from that vibe of the main framing narrative to the first segment that is also like the same kind of scummy vibe. Are all of these segments gonna have this kind of dynamic
where they're all like just a group of douchebags?
A group of douches, yeah. Not exactly, but also yes, like the like kind of, yeah.
I feel like the people become progressively more likable the further you get in.
The further you get in, yeah.
Like, each new group is better than the last one usually.
And they come up with new ways to like make them more scummy too. Like, it's these three guys, you've seen them in every bar.
Yeah.
And but they find ways to like make them even more disgusting. Like, there's a short scene where they're driving and this guy's just scrolling his phone, looking at porn while driving.
God,
it's like, it's like, I got it. I clocked that they're bad. I've clocked that they suck. I also it's a very realistic thing too, where they spend 2 seconds at the first bar and they're like, all right, let's leave. Like, I've had that happen so many times, especially if you go out in fucking Manhattan too, where it's like you go into one bar and you're like, nah.
Yeah.
Nope.
Vibes are off.
Vibes are off. That I remember going out
And
with a guy.
they're on like the prowl too, most likely. Like they're also surveying like, okay, how likely are we gonna get laid here?
Exactly.
With these guys, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway,
We
they
can't have fun here.
meet two women, Lisa and Lily. Lisa's kind of your typical bar chick. She's outgoing and, you know, she's flirting with one of the other characters. And Lily is this kind of shy, strange-looking woman. She's a strange-looking girl. She has these bulging eyes and kind of this seam running down her face. Clint is filming her. Clint is already drunk. This is a funny, actually, like funny moment. He's filming her. She's looking at him like when we talked about before, our friend used to do to us, being like, I like you. I like you. She just keeps doing that. I like you. Clint is just like, what? What? You what?
That's so crazy.
Like, yeah, that's crazy. It's really funny. Yeah, and there's also a funny scene. There's also a funny little scene here where Clint goes into the bathroom and just looks at himself. That's also a very that's the thing I do. Whenever I'm drunk, I go into the bathroom and I stare at myself. But I do this.
See if you can catch your face moving.
I do this thing where I look into the mirror and I go, "What are you looking at?" Because, oh my god, you have to watch The Simpsons, Zach. Because the reason I do that is because there's a scene in The Simpsons where Bart is at a St. Patrick's Day parade and he accidentally gets drunk. He looks into the camera and goes, "What are you looking at?" And then there's a news segment and Kent Brockman's like, "What are you looking at?" And that's what I do every time I'm drunk for some reason. That's how I know I'm gone.
I do the same thing, but it comes out more like, what are you doing?
What are you looking at?
Why are you still doing this? You gotta stop. You can't do this.
And you come out like, "Hey, everything's great."
You come out.
What? What? What'd you say?
I turn around, I go,
"Wow,
showtime!" And I put a smile. Hey, this is my song.
So after this, this is my song. Adding on to how do we make these characters even more degenerate? Is they start drunk. One of the guys is clearly drunk driving, and then they're doing coke in the back seat. It's like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah, he's trying to force the coke on Lily. Is it?
Yeah. Lily is the, or no, Lisa is the normal one.
Lisa.
Where did she find this thing? Where did she find?
Where did they find each other? Like these women?
I kind of want another segment about how they found each other.
Maybe I need to watch it again, but I kind of assumed that they don't actually know each other and that the guys, because they were together, assumed that they were together.
And she was just all right coming back with them.
Yeah.
Well, she says in the film, I'm going to bring my friends over. Yeah, bring your friends over. And that was one of her friends, I guess.
Oh. She's friends with
was she just completely normal with her?
With her, because she wasn't into women. I kind of, for some reason, I thought she snuck into the kind of the proceedings, and everybody was like, "Oh, this is one of your friends, huh?"
That could be it too, yeah.
But they never.
Oh yeah, her. I'm imagining a scenario where Lisa and Lily are talking to each other, and it's just a normal conversation, but then she starts talking to men, and she's like.
She's like,
yeah, and then she starts acting like that. Back at the motel, they're bringing the party back to the motel. What are they? It's never we're never sure what they're doing. Why do they have this motel? I mean, they obviously don't need to answer any of that shit. But
yeah,
do guys rent motels, motel rooms to
These
go
guys
out?
do.
I guess so. I guess it depends where you live. Maybe that's more of a normal thing.
Yeah, wait, why?
Like, were they from out of
Well,
town?
my assumption is they did it so that they could have a place to hook up and get away,
What, they all live with their
like to be
parents?
alone. But yeah,
Uh,
like who do they live with? Yeah.
that would be funny. But yeah, so they're all back at the motel. This dude sits on the couch and he laughs at everything, basically for the entire time before things start taking a turn. Like this guy Shane starts making out with Lisa, and he's just laughing. But then she starts passing out. Lisa passes out, and Shane's like, "What the fuck?" And he, like, the guy on the couch is just like, "No, dude, you gotta stop."
All right. All right.
Yeah, all right.
He's earned 1 point.
Yeah, he drunk drove
He's
everyone. He earned a point. He drunk drove everyone back.
while watching porn
Well,
on the phone.
but
But at least he knows how to stop.
yeah, he knows when it's too far. He then starts to turn to Lily. 'Cause it's so animalistic of him, just like
Yeah.
to just like, this girl passes out. Is like, all right, what's the next thing that can breathe? Like, all right, this girl. And she takes a liking to Clint, but Clint, he kind of just like butts in. It's like, what are you doing? What, are we doing this or what? And he just starts hooking up with her. She starts to act really strange. She takes off her dress, and it's like, as the camera pans down, it reveals these like monstrous, like webbed feet. She also kind of moves strangely too. Like, there's a moment where they're hooking up, and she like flips him around.
It's like speed ramped.
Yeah, like it's sort of like it reminds me of like a vampire thing. It's like they do things quicker.
It's like swift movement. Yeah.
Yeah, like swifter movement.
She moved this dude that's like apparently twice her size.
Like that was like
Very
nothing.
little effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Patrick tries to. The dude on the couch's name is Patrick, and he gets up and he tries to get in on it. And he like tries to take off his pants and get naked. And she's not into it. She's like, no. The more this goes on, the stranger she starts to act, until the point where she just fully reveals herself to be this monstrous creature. And her eyes start to change. She gains these like very inhuman eyes, and she has these sharp claws and these extended, like almost extended limbs. She just carves these guys. She first carves Shane, and she's just like like a cat, like clawing at him, but like tearing him apart. And after that, they run into the bathroom and they start to figure out what to do. Patrick is completely naked during this whole part, and he grabs what does he grab? Like this towel pole. What is that called?
Yeah. Towel rack.
It grabs like part of this towel rack, and they go outside. This is the best part of this whole segment. She is in this pose, and the lights are now off, and the only thing that's lighting the room is this TV, and she's silhouetted in this very like, it's very impressionistic, honestly.
Yeah.
It's very like, it's like they're capturing this mythical creature. This is a great performance too. Like, as I said in the past episode, like I love the contorting of the body, the way she has her like, it's kind of like bird-like too in a way. It's a very statuesque pose, and it's very, very, it's frightening almost when you see it, because she's just standing there and they're like moving in on her slowly.
And there's also this like eerie, like there's like, I don't even know what to, there's music playing in this moment. And
Yeah, diegetic
honestly, the
music.
song kind of rips. Yeah. But it's like this soft female vocal that's very slow paced, and it just fills the room. And it is very eerie when paired with this like contorted image.
This is where you can see the guy that directed this going on to make other projects like The Ritual. you can see that there's like an eye here, and he's framing this shot in a certain way to to make you feel that. It's the best part of this whole segment. They try to attack her, it doesn't work. She brutally kills Patrick. Does she pull off his dick?
She pulls off his dick and balls.
Yeah. That is the second. That's the second time that's happened in a movie we're talking about.
Wait, what was the first one?
The Outwaters.
Oh, of course. Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
How did I forget?
Yeah, it's weird that's happened twice.
I feel like it had to have happened in Cannibal Holocaust at some point.
Maybe off
I'm
screen
wrong.
in Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah.
But it was like part
can
of the
imagine
whole
for fun.
chaos. Yeah, we can imagine for fun. It was part of the chaos that happened at the end of that
Yeah.
movie.
I bet one of them got their dick and balls ripped off.
I bet one of them did. They ate everything. They had to eat everything.
They did, yeah. So we can assume
We're gonna assume they ate everything.
that the dick and balls also came off and were
Yes.
consumed.
So that's the third.
That's 3 movies.
What's the next movie that's gonna comment below? Comment on this
What's
show.
the next dick and ball movie?
What's the next Dick and Ball movie? Anyway, Clint escapes. He tries to run down the stairwell. He trips and falls, and you see his exposed bone. They make it so much like gorier than it is.
Yeah, like
Jesus
he
Christ.
destroys himself falling down the stairs.
Yeah, falling down like one set of stairs too.
It's
Which is
made of glass.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like a smaller, like thinner guy, but yeah, it's like he's made of glass. Well, you know what it reminds me of? It's like in the new Resident Evil games, specifically like 7 and 8, where it's like they want to show you like gore and body horror, but they can only, it's first person, so they can only show his hands. So every time he gets mangled, it has to be his hands that get mangled.
That is such a good point. I never thought about that, but that's absolutely why they do that. It's that same hand every time.
Exactly. While he's on the ground trying to crawl away, Lily, this creature just like this is also another like very vampiric moment where she's at the top of the stairwell, then she's right next to him just out of nowhere. That's really well done. And she starts like pleasuring him because at the end of the day, she does like Clint. She does want him. And he's just like, no. And then she's like, you don't like? She starts crying in the corner. It kind of reminds me of the witch from Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Her like wails are very similar.
She has that similar posture. Like,
yeah. She's like in
fetal position.
a fetal position in the corner, yeah. But Clint, crawls out. He escapes. He runs out the door and he's like banging on glass. It's like it looks like he's at like the front desk. He's going to like other people's rooms and like trying to get help. And people are in the rooms and like paying attention to him. And people are at like the front desk.
Just chill out, dude.
And I like the fact that they're like just regular bystanders on the street. Because in other movies, like, so when someone's trying to escape, there's always no one. There always is like no one there, and that makes it more like inevitable. But here, it's like there's people around, so it's like, oh, he must be all right. But no, doesn't matter because Clint gets whisked away and by the creature that's now flying, and he is in this creature's grasp that's flying away. You see like the wings spread out. And Clint just like being elevated over the city now, whatever city they're in.
She has this massive claws now too that are just like wrapped around.
I didn't notice that. Oh yeah. But yeah, it's very creative to just have your first segment be. It's not like a ghost thing, not a paranormal thing. It's this monster. It's a really good monster segment to start us off here. Yeah. And I honestly, the effects of him like being in the sky aren't bad for like
they look great.
Yeah, I don't know how they did that. Like it looks really good.
What you just said about this being a monster segment, which I fucking love. I love when VHS does just freaky weird monsters. I love that the camera at the end, the glasses, the spike glasses fall to out of the sky to the ground, and they
Yeah.
hit the party streets, and the last shot you get is like the very streets that they were hanging out on, just
Yeah.
like walking around with other
Full
people
circle.
still out. Full circle. I love it. I love that you go back to the overarching segment with these douchebags like searching the house, and the guy's watching the VHS tape. And something that struck me, that disjointed nature, like the hodgepodge nature that they spoke of, the filmmakers talked about, where they made this in reverse. You can really feel it here in a very funny way, because some of these movies, these films that they watch are just like, this is a fucked up thing that a sick human being did to another human being. Like, this is like gross. These tapes are fucking, oh, these tapes are the real heart of darkness. Like, this is the other side of the coin. These, I didn't know what man was capable of. And this one's just like, this is just a monster. Like, this one tape just
Yeah, the
has proof
monsters
of
are real.
monsters. Monsters exist. And the guy's like, huh,
Oh, what the fuck? Yeah.
that was weird.
Well, it's kind of, I relate that to like our world, and like there are stories about like SCPs and shit like that, and like the rake, and they're presented as being real.
Yeah,
I
but
kind
this
of,
guy's here knowing that he's stealing like valuable tapes, and it's like, oh, for some
yeah.
reason this guy wants these tapes, and he puts in one of the tapes, and the tape has on it proof that like monsters are real. And he's
No, but I'm
like,
saying like
he's
from our
he's not,
perspective,
this changes everything.
I gotta get out there. I gotta see. Someone's gotta know. But I relate that to that. What I'm saying though is like I relate that to our world. Like someone reading about some kind of, you know, like an SCP or like the rake or something like that, and believing it, like because those stories are written like
Yeah,
from accounts, like they're real. And I know it's
this
different
does
when you
actually,
see it,
yeah.
but like that's kind of the VHS version of doing that is what I'm trying to get. That's what I'm getting at with like the whole world building part of it and the whole anthology. Like, yeah, this creature exists in their world.
Yeah. Do you think this movie is kind of influenced by what is it called? Creepypastas
Maybe not
and
this
that
movie
that
because
culture as
creepypastas
well?
weren't really in the zeitgeist at that time.
Were they not 2012?
I don't know if they were.
I
I mean,
think
there were
they
definitely
were.
creepypastas in 2012, but they
Yeah.
weren't like in the zeitgeist. Like
Mm.
when did Channel Zero come out?
I mean, Slender Man
Well, there was Slender Man, yeah,
was a
and
thing when I was
Marble
in high
Hornets was a
school.
thing. That's more like creepypasta adjacent. No, I guess it is creepypasta. That's yeah, no, I that's the same thing. Like when we watch like the experience of watching Marble Hornets and being like, "Oh my god." Because you don't have
Yeah,
any
like,
other
oh,
context for it, and there's no comments. Like you feel like you're the only one watching it,
yeah,
and you're just like, "Oh my god,
you're
this
a
is real."
child, and the world is
Yeah,
opening up to you.
that's the kind of the same feel I get like when these guys watch these tapes.
You kind of want to believe it
That's something that I
too,
like. I don't know.
for real.
Yeah, they kind of want to believe it. We get back to the main framing narrative of Tape 56, and basically what starts happening is, you know, as they progress, members of the group just start mysteriously disappearing as they try to search for the tape. Eerie occurrences escalate inside the house. There's even a part where like they're in a basement and they see like a guy pass. It's the classic like guy passing by from one from
Dude,
like
fucking vintage.
yeah, vintage like pass by scare, which you know doesn't really get at you, and it's not really a great scare, but like it's just another excuse to like have this, you know, overarching narrative to put all the segments together, basically. But we get to the second segment called Second Honeymoon. This one is directed by Ty West, who is hugely popular. You'll know that name. You might actually not know that name specifically, but you definitely know his work because this is the same guy that directed X, Pearl, and Maxine. What are those series of movies called?
Is it just like the X
The X
trilogy or
the
like
X
the X
trilogy
movies? Like,
from the
um,
X trilogy.
Is Pearl technically like at this point, like did that receive any like Academy recognition or anything like that? No.
No, the only reason it
Okay.
would is for Mia Goth, but yeah,
I guess just in my heart she did.
yeah, but those movies are
Uh,
genuinely very popular, well known horror films now.
yeah.
X, Pearl, and Maxine. I mean, Maxine was very recent. That came out only just last year.
His other movies are also, I
Oh,
mean,
bro,
most of the things he's made are pretty good.
I love House of the Devil.
House of the Devil rules. The
The
Innkeepers is really
Innkeepers is pretty
fun.
good. Yeah, that was before VHS. So was House of the Devil and The Innkeepers were before VHS. So he was pretty established before he did this. Before he did VHS,
Yes.
he did
I
the
think he
ABCs of
was
Death.
in as a minor character who does not make it very far. He was in Your Next acting in it
Yeah, yeah.
as well. But I even like he did a Western movie with Ethan Hawke called In a Valley of Violence. That was
I never
pretty
saw
good.
that one. Yeah,
That's a fun movie.
that's a Blumhouse film. I'm guessing.
Uh
Jason Blum serves as
oh, I guess it
producer. Yeah,
was.
yeah. Blumhouse Productions.
Okay, I didn't
I
realize
didn't
that.
know they made. Yeah, that's a weird one to come out of Blumhouse.
It's very low key. It's just
Hmm.
like it almost could be like if it wasn't so action oriented, like a play, because it's all just based around one kind of plot of land, kind of. But
It's like a stage play.
almost not exactly. That makes it sound more literary than it is. But I
Yeah.
just mean it's very focused in like there's not a lot of locations.
What do you think
It
about the X Pearl and Maxine? What do you think about those films?
I love those movies. I Pearl is probably one of my favorite movies ever. Uh,
Pearl is definitely the best out of those three. I think they're good. I like Ty West as a director. I think those movies are all right.
even Pearl?
Pearl is the best of those. I didn't think Maxine was that great, and I liked X when it came out, but I don't think that
Yeah,
trilogy was like, I don't know why he like I get I appreciate the ambition of like making this trilogy. Even like I feel like he would have made it even if the films weren't that popular.
yeah, no, definitely. I feel like there's no way he could have predicted how popular they would be
Yeah,
because they don't feel
I
like
wouldn't
movies
ever
that
have
should be
expected that.
popular.
Yeah, I never would have expected it. But yeah,
I
I'm
I
still interested in him as a director, and this is also my favorite segment of this film.
This is your favorite.
This is my favorite. I love the mood of it. And if you've listened to past
I do like this one.
episodes, if you listen to past episodes, you know kind of are kind of are aware of what gets me. I like quiet, atmospheric horror that takes its time, that builds something, and that just slowly crawls at you. I also like cool monster horror of the last segment. I like gore generally, but to me, this is the good stuff. We have this segment. In this segment, we have this couple, Sam and Stephanie, and they're played by Joe Swanberg, who actually is a director of a later segment, Sophia Tackle, and Caitlin Scheel. For most of this, it's just these two characters. These two newlyweds. They're on a road trip through the Southwest, documenting their vacation on camcorder. And what I like about this is that it's, we have these very two loud, bombastic segments. I think in Amateur Night, there's barely a moment to breathe in that whole segment. It's loud noises, whether
Yeah,
it's music, just talking of like just music or just like yelling, like drunk yelling, monster sounds and gore and violence. Where this is just like so much. It's such a great contrast to the last segment. And I think a great anthology should do that. You should immediately give you different moods. And this is a very different mood. I knew I immediately liked this because she starts filming the sky, and the sky's very like gloomy. That kind of clues you in. That kind of like sets a certain tone, and I like that it's, you have like you have some like bright days, but most of the time it's very like cloudy, and there's a building atmosphere here, and you don't exactly know what the main concept of this film of this of this segment is yet. Like all in the other segments, even the ones later on, they'll start and you kind of know what's going on right away. You know what kind of genre it'll be. You know what kind of you kind of know what tropes it's playing with right away. But here you don't exactly know. To me, it's very immersive. I think this is a very immersive found footage segment. They're in this hotel room, and the hotel has this hum to it, I'll say. You know how much I love my atmospheric room tone sound design. I love it. So they're in the hotel, and they see someone outside, kind of like talking on the phone. The guy's name is Sam, and Sam looks outside the window, and you start to hear this like night air kind of start blowing, kind of start rising. I love the sound of night wind. I don't know if you know that about me, Zach. One of my favorite. I have a couple favorite sounds.
I did not know this.
I have a couple favorite sounds. One of my favorite sounds is night wind. Just like still, like going outside, middle of the night, night wind. There's nothing like
sound.
it.
That's a good one.
It's a good sound, and that is accentuated in this segment. Sam is talking to his wife, and he's talking about the girl he saw outside who wanted to hitch a ride with them. And when Sam's describing, he's just kind of like sitting on the bed, describing the conversation he's had with this girl. He describes it as like he started to feel very anxious, like she was a woman, but like he didn't feel like he was safe. These things that like you just can't describe unless you were there. Like these things that like you just don't understand unless you were like there, but you weren't there. Like that part wasn't filmed. So he just kind of has to describe it. I'm not going to lie, that kind of rose something in me as well. It's like describing a situation where you didn't feel safe. And I feel like that was really real. That was very realistic.
Yeah.
I also like this hotel room has a character too, because they get into the hotel room and I guess they booked it last minute and it's dirty. It's like,
so fucking dirty.
Yeah, it's a very musky looking hotel room.
If this were me, I would not be able to sleep in that bed.
Neither would I.
It's like a dirty bed. Like there's nothing worse than
a dirty bed. I would sleep on the floor. The floor is probably disgusting.
Literally, yeah. Oh, I would sleep in the car.
I'd sleep in the car. Yeah, that's probably for the better. That's probably for the better.
I know where it's been.
But then we get to what this is all about. I mean, they have like a nice night. They have a nice time at the market earlier in the day. You have this sense of security, but then you get this scene. The first night, a masked intruder is filming them as they sleep. But they don't harm them. They just kind of, they pull the covers off of Stephanie and just kind of like plays around with her a little bit. But she doesn't wake up. She kind of just like turns around. Heavy sleeper. I feel like the room tone is also accentuated in this segment, and it just makes everything more and more eerie and disturbing. Like this is kind of someone's worst nightmare. I'm talking about me too.
This is your worst nightmare. It's just somebody who you don't know being in your space.
Yeah, like remember when we were talking about milk and cereal and how eerie the first time you meet Greg and he just like enters the apartment. I know everyone's like awake and like there's a lot of people there, but like just like a guy you don't know that's older than you.
Yeah.
Just like in your space. Like this guy's in our apartment. Like what do we do? This is different because this is home invasion stuff. And
yeah,
I'm not going to lie, home invasion shit freaks me out because I have anxiety. I'm kind of more over it. Not that I'm over it, but like this, it kind of used to be a lot worse for me because especially when I was living with my parents, especially when we had our apartment in Chicago, I don't know. I just had these like worries of like what would happen if someone like entered the home. Like that's something I think about. And it's my anxiety. Like I have anxiety and I just like make up these scenarios. It's like and then then those scare me. And
Mm,
that's kind of what's happening here. And then there's like this shot of of the assailant just like taking out a switchblade, and it's very like
yeah.
it like the sound stabs you of when they take out the switchblade.
Well, also earlier in town, they kind of allude to the knife thing because there's a part where they're looking at like a cowboy
Cowboy
get up
boots and the
shop.
hat.
And one of the things that they focus on, he doesn't bring it up as something he's interested in, but Stephanie's holding the camera and the camera does center a knife
Oh, I didn't notice that. At least not this
for a
time.
little bit. I don't think it's that same knife, but it I think it alludes to like, oh, something is
There will be
not
a
good is gonna
knife
happen.
later on. They then go into the bathroom and we get a quick mirror shot of what they look like, and they're wearing this mask, but you can't like make out what it is specifically. Yeah, I don't know. Do you get like I don't know. I have a weird thing with home invasion stuff because of my anxiety, but like that's not something that like ever freaks you out in movies or anything.
Not in movies. No, I don't know why. I'm not bothered by it. There's very specific things that get me, but home invasion, just the idea of somebody
Especially found footage home
being,
invasion, like Jesus Christ. This is the worst. That's the worst for me.
I don't know why that doesn't bug me. I think it's like a specific type of home invasion that if it has like an odd intent, like if it's like the revelation that somebody's been living in your house for like a year or
Oh
something
my
like that, like
god, yeah, those
that's
stories.
scary.
Yeah.
Just the concept that somebody like gets in and like fucks around with stuff and then leaves doesn't really scare me, but
That
I don't
fucks
know.
with me. That fucks with me.
Yeah, they switch your furniture around.
I don't like
They
that.
they take a key, they put it on the ground, make you think you
No.
dropped it.
No, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Alex, there is a video game that's basically a visual novel with like a few different endings. It takes maybe like 30 minutes to play and see everything. It's not that long. It's called This Is Not Your House.
So
It's on
that's
Steam.
the worst title
It's
you
like a
could have given
book.
that.
Uh, it is very reminiscent of like a Shirley Jackson story, like a style, like some that style of story that she would
Oh
tell,
my
a horror
god,
story.
I'm looking at this now and it's
The image, if you're seeing the images, yeah, it's
oh my god. Not so cool, Al. Not so cool.
uh,
Oh my god.
you, everyone who's listening should play This Is Not Your House. Give them, it's like a
No,
dollar.
don't play this.
This game is like a buck.
This looks too scary.
It's so good. The
Don't
soundtrack
play this.
slaps.
Don't. It's $2.
If you want something like actually like unnerving in like a way that unlocks something new within you that you
Oh
didn't know
fuck.
you had. Like it's not even like
That's how I felt during
just
our
scary.
Skinamarink review.
This might have like a similar effect.
That might
I,
have a similar
I don't
effect.
want to overhype it, but it's not scary in the traditional sense, but it is like it's a new feeling. But
Well,
yeah,
if there's
that's
anything
the
else you want to
spirit they're
know
good.
about me and Zach, you can just ask me or DM me.
Yeah, just DM me. I'll
Just
tell you
DM me. I'll
fucking
tell you
everything.
everything you
Home
gotta know.
security.
But anyway, we get to the next day, and Sam suspects that someone stole money from him. During that scene the night before, they took money from his wallet. He not directly accuses Stephanie, but he's apprehensive. The way that Joe Swanberg just kind of like blankly stares at her, like without blinking is so. It isn't like purposefully unsettling. It's just like you're trying to like imagine a scenario where you're trying to talk yourself out of something and the person like in front of you just doesn't believe you at all, and they're just like looking at you, and it's so like cutting.
That
That's what I get out of this. It's a lot more of a brighter day, and there's radio ads playing in the background too that are like very happy ads, which is a nice contrast to what we're seeing. They're hiking, and I like there's like a sense of methodical pacing because there's nothing really happening here. They're kind of just going about their day, but like you have the visuals of the night before in your head, and you're like, what the hell? Wait, what the hell's going on? And there's nothing directly like even foreshadowing any of that happening. Like no one's watching them in the distance or anything like that. You'll never like you don't see any of that. It's just like they have a day and then this happens at night. And I honestly like that better. The next night happens and the intruder re-enters the motel room and brutally slits Sam's throat while recording the entire act. It is a ooh, I
so gross. Yeah.
it's gross. And I remember like the first time seeing it, I was really taken aback because I didn't expect for it to get to this so quickly. Because I expect like rule of threes pretty much like, we introduced this on the first night and then it escalates a little bit on the second night then there's bound to be a third night where it all gets worse. And this is the second night and it just kind of happens like that. So I wasn't expecting him to be stabbed like this so quickly.
Yeah, a fishing killer.
Yeah. During this scene, it just like quick cuts to the road. And they're driving down the road, and it's like adding to this sense of chaos. And what's revealed here is the wife, Stephanie, is in on the murder, and she's romantically involved with the killer. And after she stabs Sam, they both go into the bathroom. They start making out. The segment ends with them leaving together, and it's hinted at a deeper conspiracy of more like serial killer activity. It's a very like quick end to the segment, and it just cuts off, and really, really good stuff. It's very effective. You're just kind of like left in your seat, like oh, like a jolt. And yeah, this is my favorite segment, and I just really it kind of combined a lot of things that I just find scary and I find unsettling, and but also kind of a more there's more technical aspects to it, like the sound design that I think elevate the whole thing. This also isn't the last home invasion segment in the VHS franchise. There's actually one way later on, directed by a very famous director. Do you know what I'm talking about? And that one's really crazy. But we'll get to it when we talk about that film.
No. Home invasion.
Didn't we watch
No.
it? We watched it together, didn't we?
I have to think about it. But it'll come up, right?
It'll come up way later on. Like in a few weeks, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're gonna get right to the next segment here, which is Tuesday the 17th. You can take a wild swing at like what this is, riffing on. And that's directed by Glenn McQuaid. Glenn McQuaid doesn't really have that crazy of a filmography compared to the last two directors. He did a movie called I Sell the Dead, which I have never seen. But it has Dominic Monaghan in it. Wow. And Ron Perlman and Larry Fessenden. Wow. Maybe that's something to watch. I don't know if I've never seen that film, but it looks interesting. And then he did this segment for VHS, and then and that's kind of it. Overall, I think this segment's all right. It has an interesting special effect, but other than that, I don't think that this one particularly does anything for me.
This one is probably I'm trying to think of the weakest one. It might be this one.
The weakest one for me is the one after this, but I think this one
You think
is all right.
that's my debate, yeah, between this and the one after this. This one, it feels like it doesn't know what it wants to be. Like it has like a hat on a hat. Like there's like there's two concepts, like core concepts that could be fun to mess around with. And it doesn't really stick with either or explore either very well.
Yeah, by the time it like
Um,
gets to something, it's over.
right, yeah. It feels like maybe the better thing to do would have been to get to the twist a little earlier so then you could have the fun of, okay, but does that twist now affect things?
So yeah, this segment obviously, you know, generic setup for a slasher film. Group of four friends. Their names are Wendy, Joey, Spider, and Samantha. And they go on a trip to a secluded forest. The only good things can happen there. Yeah. So anyway, it just kind of, has this setup like a generic slasher film. They're all on, the four of them are in a car. It starts like, say like Evil Dead movie like that, and they go into the woods and they're being like shown around, and she goes to this, they go to this wall, and this is already the first thing I don't like about this segment is there's sort of a magic camera. It keeps intercutting, it keeps plugging in these like dead bodies that are supposed to show like the past, like the past killings. It's very immersion breaking for me because I think we talked about on the show like the things that you show in the camera are very important in found footage, and like things like the
Yeah.
Outwaters and the show, and even last week we talked about Mind Body Spirit, where you can do kind of like you can kind of frame artistic shots in found footage and make it believable. But this is just like why is the camera magic? Why is it showing us this now? Like if someone's supposed to be recording all this.
Right. Yeah, no, there's just it like pick a lane.
Pick a lane, yeah. And there is a cool effect later on that I wouldn't say is like believable, but it might be like an occurrence in their world, and that's kind of interesting. Anyway, while they're kind of exploring the woods, Wendy, she's kind of leading them around and behaving strangely, making all these cryptic statements, and she kind of just turns to one of the characters and says, "You're all about to die," just straight up. And the guy's like, "What? What did you say?" Like, kind of
The
fun with it.
fuck?
Like, what?
Why would you say that?
So through this camera, this magic camera, now we see these glimpses of this like distorted figure. It's not visible to at least like our eye. Two of the characters go out on their own. One of them, she's gonna show him like a gymnastics routine, and then before she can do anything, is just has a knife thrown through her face. It's so weird. Like it's like first off, the dialogue is very like it's probably the worst in the entire movie in this segment.
Yeah.
It's just very forced, I'd say.
I don't know if they were trying to achieve like if
A
they were trying to
campiness.
approximate yeah, a retro campiness because
I
it's kind of
I
playing
get
off
all
of Friday the
that.
13th.
Yeah, I get all that, but like the Friday the 13th campy dialogue, at least in some of the movies, always came across as uh
Genuine within their world.
genuine. Yeah, like yeah, within their world. Whereas like yeah, it's just this one's very just like inconsistent with what we've seen so far, and then like through our broader, our frame of knowledge and what the future VHS shorts are going to be. This one kind of just doesn't fit, but it does fit in the way that there's just a brutal face stabbing, which seems to be a thing with these movies, or at least this movie in particular. In the last segment, we saw the throat stabbing. Now we just get this the glitch thing has this guy on the ground, and brutally just stabs him in the face over and over again. I think that's done pretty well, and it looks pretty gruesome. And just one by one, yeah, they get killed in brutal ways. And it's revealed
Yeah.
that Wendy just lured them into the woods to bait them so she can trap this glitch thing. I do like the scene where she's talking to the main guy, and you can see the glitch kind of like in the background, like approaching from behind, like slowly. That's done pretty well, and he gets his throat slit. And they kind of then have this like cat and mouse game with Wendy and the glitch thing, and she gets him trapped in like this Sideshow Bob rake thing. If you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
One of those traps. And
Fucking Looney Tunes.
yeah, this is kind of like Wile E. Coyote versus Roadrunner at this point, but a slasher movie. And what I do find that's a little interesting about this short is that while she's kind of incapacitated on the ground, she sees one of the body, just like kind of, I don't know if this is like a reanimated body of one of her friends, but there are other instances in other shorts of reanimated corpses, and it's like maybe this is the same. You know, I'm not trying to paint a world where like everything's connected, like literally. I think that's kind of interesting because it's like kind of in the same way. Anyway, yeah. So Wendy ultimately gets owned, and the glitch killer just like carves up her stomach and lays her out with her intestines hanging out. It's like just very obtusely gruesome. Like, we got to do this now, you know, in that way. Where it's like there's not enough gore. Here's like the last, the exclamation point of gore in this segment. So that's what happens, and it just ends. And yeah, I'm not crazy about this one. I like the idea of whatever's out here in this, you know, in this part of the country, but just being out there, like it's an urban legend campfire story.
Yeah.
It's kind of reminiscent of like other internet lore you might read. And the fact that there's a reanimated corpse and something that's not really like set up, but interesting comparing to what we see later happen in other shorts. It could be like the same phenomena, but yeah, I wasn't crazy about this one, and it's not really one that I like to revisit when I rewatch these films.
Yeah, it didn't really figure out how to tie its different threads together, and maybe it has like too many, like, which is funny because it's really simple, but it just
it seemed maybe
seem
like
it.
It just maybe seemed like too much of a proof of concept for another film.
Yeah, yeah, like some larger
Yeah, but it doesn't really work
feature.
as a short, you know.
No,
It
it's
goes
too
by
quick.
too quick, and yeah. Thankfully, that's not the worst segment. Because the next short we have is called "The Sick Thing That Happened to Emily When She Was Younger." This one's directed by Joe Swanberg, and he was in what I said was the best segment, the second one, in Second Honeymoon. He was the husband in that one. He directed this one. Joe Swanberg is interesting. He is not primarily known for directing horror at this point, I don't think. He directed Drinking Buddies in 2013, and then he wrote and produced this movie called The Rental, which is horror, but yeah, as far as like directing goes, Win It All, I haven't seen any of these movies. It's mostly comedy, it seems, which is interesting. He directed this segment, and it's about this young woman named Emily. And this segment is in open windows style, so it's all webcam footage of a chat. Think Unfriended or Host.
Yeah,
It's
they have a term for that. It's screen life movies.
it's a screen life movie. When was that coined?
I feel like it was kind of recent. It was probably sometime around 2018.
I love that. I like when we come up with new like Souls-like
Yes, yeah.
screen
This,
life. Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, so we follow Emily, and she has this series of video chats with her long distance boyfriend named James. And there starts to be strange occurrences around Emily's apartment. Emily's screen is the one that's always the primary screen, her webcam. So we mostly see, so James is in the corner. This is mainly his calls. James, I think they don't say it outright, but I believe he's a doctor. And his performance is kind of weird. I kind of get what they're trying to do. He always sounds very bored. And it might be this thing where it's like, well, I've met some doctors and they kind of have a coldness to them. So I can kind of believe that. But yeah, he always sounds very bored by what's going on. And it makes the ending of this very strange.
I guess in retrospect, that hit me too when I was watching it. I thought like this is kind of a stale performance. He's delivering every line with the same like tonation every time.
Yeah.
In retrospect, by the time you hit the end, maybe you can justify the turn. You can justify it to the turn or the
Mm-hmm.
reveal of like this new aspect of his character. Oh, maybe he is bored because he's got quick spoiler like five different girls or whatever that he's talking
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Like this is just
He's
another
going through
one
the
in a row.
motions.
Yeah. It seems very
Yeah.
like structured. But yeah, so she believes her apartment's haunted and she hears noises and sees ghostly figures of children running around. That's sort of well done. Like I like the this was done better in like way better in Host, which
Yeah.
is a movie we'll also talk about, but sometime in the future. But yeah, that concept was done better in Host. It's done okay here, but then gets kind of yeah. I don't know. This segment's baffling to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Over several nights, these supernatural events keep happening. Basic paranormal stuff, and then Emily is also revealed to have this strange lump on her arm that she like obsessively starts picking at. Now this was starting to get interesting because I like body horror and
Good stuff.
it's gross when people self mutilate themselves in movies. So I thought that's more or less where this was going, and kind of goes there. It's like our issue with the 2016 Blair Witch, where it introduces body horror and then just doesn't develop it at
Yeah.
all.
And the doctor the entire time is responding, and this is kind of how you find out he's a doctor, is he's giving her medical advice not to scratch it, to do this. Oh, wait till I come and I'll take a look at it. Meanwhile, he's he's witnessing these ghost children like run into frame
Yeah, he
and
sees everything.
is constantly acting like somebody who has not seen those things. It's like kind of gaslighting her.
Yeah,
It's like,
which
oh,
is a
I don't know, it could have been
common
anything.
common trope in paranormal found footage films that deal with a couple. Happens a lot. Not even just found footage films, in all horror, really. There's always a husband that's like, "No, you're crazy."
You're losing it.
Yeah, and
And he does
yes,
not make it to the end usually.
yeah, but yeah, I did start to like I liked the thread of her trying to take this thing out of her arm. She even just gashes herself at one point, and to which the boyfriend just like, "Oh, why did you do that?" Like, and it's not.
Oh, there's a gaping hole in your arm?
Yeah.
What? That's crazy.
This all reaches its climax one night where on call with James, she's attacked by these ghosts children, and she's rendered unconscious. And then what happens is it's revealed the boyfriend James is involved in these events, and he appears and he just like comes through a door in Emily's apartment, and removes this alien fetus from her body, cuts her open, like reveals her fucking like rib cage, which was pretty gross. Takes this tiny thing out that we can't see all that well, but like he like turns to the children who are just like normal children and are like,
Yeah.
and he's like, you're saying this thing's alive?
You say, how much longer do I have to? Is this gonna take?
Yeah, and then it just ends. It just like cuts to the morning. It cuts to the morning after, or maybe not even the morning after, like days after. And one of the actual, like maybe sad parts is, but like someone convinces her that she's suffering from schizophrenia, and James is just like, "Oh, sucks for you," and then moves on to his next victim, who's on another call. He just moves on to the next girl, who he calls next.
He makes show her to just like take her shirt off for him.
Yeah, which happened in the first.
Wait, what part of the plan is that?
Yeah, like that's how these things always have to start.
Yeah.
First, I get them to take their top off, and then I dissect
my work
them.
begins.
Yes, then my work truly begins. But yeah, and then it ends, and what happened exactly?
So he is working with the ghosts.
Yeah, which aren't ghosts. Apparently, like,
which aren't.
Are they ghosts? I mean, there's like the actual like haunting occurrences are just like there are children in the house.
Yeah, are they children done up to look like? Well, they have the ability to knock her unconscious, so they must be supernatural.
Maybe they just
somehow.
like whacked her over the head with something, like an eye,
but
like
then
a shoehorn or something, or a crowbar.
Growing something inside of her, like a fetus, like a baby, and he's helping them do that. Because.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't get this one at all. I really didn't get this one at all. And like sometimes when I think about this movie, when I think about the first VHS, I completely forget that this one's in here.
This is the one that I forgot completely.
Yeah, I completely forget that it exists. So when I was rewatching,
I don't like the last one, but I remembered that it was in here.
Yeah,
this one was like, I was like, wait, there's another one.
I was like, yeah, there's just this like short one in the middle. It's like, oh yeah, and it just happens, and then it's over, and then you're like, what was that about again?
Yeah, which one? Why did we do this?
There are better segments in later VHS movies that have aliens in them. This one is strange, and also hauntings. They do way better with that in the future.
The next one has more interesting hauntings.
It does, yeah. We get to the final segment, 10/31/98, which is directed by Radio Silence.
I don't know what that means.
You don't know what that means? It's
No.
So Radio Silence is Chad Villela, Matt Bettinelli, Olpen, and Tyler Gillett, and they're also in. They also act as they also are the actors in the movie as well, with as well as a few others. Radio Silence has done a lot actually. Currently, they do the new Scream movies.
Okay,
and they've done other found footage films too, like Southbound, which we'll get to. But yeah, they're pretty well known. Radio Silence. It's funny just referring to them as Radio Silence because it's like the only.
Also done Ready or Not. That's a good movie.
Oh yeah. They also done Ready or Not. Yes, they did Ready or Not, Scream, the new Scream movies, and then another movie called Southbound, which is also found footage. It's funny referring to them as Radio Silence, like they're a band. Which I guess, like, why not do that? Like, if you're like a filmmaking collective.
Daniels.
Yeah, true. If you're like a filmmaking collective, just go by one thing. It's like, oh yeah, a Radio Silence movie. Like it's an album or something. But yeah, they're very well known. Probably as established as someone like Ty West is. This one I like. I like this one actually. It's a good one to end a good note to end the movie on, in my opinion.
This one's fun.
Yeah, this
I
one's a
like
lot of
this.
fun.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, it's just like a good time. Like like it's kind of simple. Like I mean, the special effects work is really cool.
Yeah, that's where
Um,
you're like, oh yeah, that's why these guys they seem like pros, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, like it's a very simple plot, just a bunch of guys ending up at the wrong house, but the way that that is the hauntings that go on are like conveyed in a really cool way. It's probably the most computer visual effects heavy movie of these, or at least it's the most apparent. Just the things that they pull off require a
It's kind
lot
of
of
like,
particle effects and
yeah,
faking dust and debris going around, like flying
yeah,
around, and
yeah.
yeah,
There's definitely more of a spectacle to it than in any of the other segments.
yeah,
It's sort of like YouTuber esque, like a YouTuber that makes like good special effects, genuinely,
yeah.
but like in a good way. Yeah, like I mean that positively. But yeah, we have this group of friends. They're played by Radio Silence, and they're all in. It's Halloween. They're all in Halloween costumes, and they're headed to a party at a remote house that they just have an address for. But when they get there, they find the house eerily empty, and they begin exploring. I like the first. I like the fact that this is set up like this because it just allows us to kind of live in the empty house for a bit and have them explore it, and it's pretty immersive, honestly. Like they do a good job with that. It's also a very, I'd say this is the most well edited segment as well.
It's like it's the cleanest. Like
It's the cleanest,
it just
yeah.
moves.
It moves well. A lot of the jump cuts to the empty house are warranted, and we hear all these. And I like the constant sounds we hear from upstairs too. At least when they go upstairs and they're listening to what's going on in the attic, we can always hear like people talking and things.
Yeah,
So when they get into the attic, they think it's all part of like a haunted house, and they treat it as such. Like they're having fun, and they discover a group of men performing a ritual on a tied up woman. They kind of act like they're part of it. What is it?
also,
What do they say?
can I
What do
say,
they
by the way,
scream?
oh God, I forget what like the chant is,
Yeah,
or
they start like chanting with them.
'cause I think it's all part of the act.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember. I was gonna say, are they saying like burn her or something like that? Burn
So yeah,
her,
it's something
burn.
like that.
These guys are so refreshing compared to the main characters of like basically every
Of
other short.
yeah, right.
They're like the
They're just
only
cool
ones who
guys.
aren't like secretly douchebags or like evil. They're just like
They're not drunk
they're
driving.
just
They're just like hanging out with their friends. Yeah.
on Halloween. Yeah, they're dressing up on Halloween and hanging out.
Even
Cast him
establishes
down as
exactly. Yeah, it even establishes them
as
as
a-
such because like it starts out and they're like barbecuing and just having fun.
yeah.
Like I like that they just generally set that up as like these guys aren't going to deserve what happens to them compared to everyone else.
Yeah, yeah, like these are just nice dudes.
Yeah.
And which makes it like just more, horrific that they
Yeah,
get
they're just
involved in
trying to
this.
have fun on Halloween and get caught up in an actual like exorcism.
Yeah.
This is what ends up happening. Yeah, they keep mocking the situation. They start chanting with them, and the group of men just get like very aggressive and tell them to leave. And then all this supernatural activity starts to begin, and the house starts. It's like shaking and with kind of just general ghostly things happening. But we'll get to the coolest part about this though, because there is an awesome effect. But for now, it's just like kind of cool, goofy horror, like haunted house stuff. And they try to run down and escape the house, and they're all there. They have a foot out of the door. They have a foot out the door, and they're like, "No, we have to go back to save her."
Right.
Which
Like
is
they're just
yeah,
they're
they're
trying to do the right thing.
probably the only instance in this film of like a man trying to do good by a woman.
Yeah.
Right?
Like literally.
No, we must protect her.
It's like literally they're like, "Wait, guys, remember our character.
Remember,
We
we have to remember our
can't.
morals.
How would we look each other in the eyes if we do this now?" Yeah, no.
What'll our wives think?
But then that's like their last shot to get out is
Yeah. But they go back up to the attic, and they attempt to rescue her, but they realize almost immediately that she's the source of everything, and she's the reason why everything is all the house is going nuts. And what ends up happening? I mean, a guy gets like someone's trying to attack one of them, the cameraman. He gets thrown up into the air. Just like I love this one effect because he gets thrown up into the air, but he doesn't like hit the roof. He kind of just like ascends into the abyss.
yeah, so cool. Like it kind of like flies through the effects, like attempts to overwhelm you with like how much the house is like morphing and changing. Like there's a
Yeah.
hand that comes out of the floor,
Wait. Yeah,
like a
I'm
ghostly
gonna get
hand.
to that because that's the
Oh,
coolest
yeah,
part.
okay.
Um, yeah, no, what you're saying though about like it kind of quick cutting to all, not like quick cut, but like quick panning to all these other crazy things happening. It like adds to the chaos of it, and like it doesn't show everything fully, which is cool.
Yeah.
But what it does show is all these sick hands, these arms coming out of the walls and the floor. Oh my god, like when they're going down the stairwell and then when they go into the basement trying to escape and it comes out of the ground. Yeah, so it's like Day of the Dead-esque. Also, Repulsion that happens in the Roman Polanski movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot
It's
like
like the
that.
famous, yeah.
They eventually escape. They eventually
Dude, sorry, some of the things, can I just run through some
go.
of these freaking things that are happening just to paint a picture?
Yeah.
Uh, there's crows flying from one
Oh
room to
yeah.
another as they're running through the hallway. They try to grab a doorknob and it shoots into the door and disappears with a puff of smoke coming out.
Oh, the window
There's
starts
just like
disappearing. Like it
the
like
window starts
shrinks.
disappearing. It's so rad. Like
It's
the house
rad.
is basically just like closing off all the possible exits.
Yeah. It's awesome. And so they eventually escape. As they're driving away with the woman in the back seat, their car stalls, and it stalls exactly on these train tracks. And the woman kind of just like disappears and then appears in front of the car headlights. And they can't get out of the car. Everything's locked. They try to they don't even really try hard to like bust out the windows or anything. They just kind of like knock on the windows. But there's a train coming right at them. Yeah, and then as the train is about to crash into them, it cuts. And that's actually the end of the movie. That's when the end title comes up and then the credits start to roll. VHS usually has a wrapping segment in the future where it'll go back after the last segment to the overarching like framing narrative, but they already got done with that before the final segment started. I do want to point out something really funny is there's an alternate ending to this segment where they all survive.
Is there really?
Yeah, there's an alternate joke ending where the car
That's
doors
great. I
unlock
wish that
and
was
they
the real ending.
escape. And they walk away and they end up talking about how much fun they had. They're just like, wow, that was a crazy night, huh, guys?
That's great. Wow.
And the train
that's
collides with the
Halloween to
car and
remember.
explodes behind them. And they're just like, wow, best Halloween ever.
That's
More
sweet.
More
That's
showing
so
like alternate endings like that in movies, by the way.
Yeah.
Or like
How rad would that
blooper
have been? I
reels.
mean, I do like the actual ending, but that would have been hilarious
It's
as the
so
real
funny.
ending. Like that was crazy, dude.
But yeah, that's VHS, the first VHS. Any final thoughts about VHS in general? Was your favorite segment 10/31/98?
Oh, the first one. The first one.
First one was yeah,
The
it's hard.
the last
to
one's
beat.
probably my second favorite.
Yeah,
Then second honeymoon, following
second honeymoon.
second honeymoon would follow that.
3 out
I
of 5 ain't
think
bad for this.
3 out of 5 ain't
A
bad.
good
I
hit
will say
rate.
like I don't. It's 3 out of 5, but it's like a soft 3 out of 5.
Yeah, there's more potential
it's-
for this.
Yeah, like I enjoyed them, but they don't hit the way that VHS 2. Not to get into that, but
Setting up for next
when
time.
the ones that hit, yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's stuff in there in VHS 2 that is some of like
Just more
there's one segment in
creative.
particular that's one of the all-time great horror
It's all time greats. Yeah,
like
we'll get to it.
films.
We'll get to it. I don't want to
Uh,
reveal too much because that's gonna. I feel like
yeah.
the entire episode can be about that segment though.
I feel like in this one, the only one that really like stands on its own is Amateur Night. It,
Yeah, that one has
that's the only
like
one that feels
creative.
like
It has the monster and it has like all of the insinuations about like that thing existing in the world.
yeah, and how it operates. And then the other ones are kind of fun or in the case of Tuesday the 17th and Emily, what happened when she was younger, are just kind of like failed experiments, but I like
Noble failures.
Second Honeymoon, Tuesday the 17th, and the
Yeah,
Emily short film.
noble failures or
Noble failures? No, I feel like they're just
no, they're
failures.
not
Like, I
noble.
mean, I think
They
all
have no
art,
honor.
whether it succeeds or fails, is noble.
Yeah.
Uh, but they just don't work. I mean, they feel kind of messy
They're forgettable and
and
messy. Yeah.
they're forgettable, and they're not particularly.
Yeah, because like Tuesday the 17th is just Friday the 13th, but with a different guy, like a different slasher killer.
There's not there's not a whole lot of meat on the bone. Like they
Yeah.
didn't stop to like Amateur Night is short and simple, but it also feels like a lot of creativity and thought went into
It's a
what are
more,
the implications of this monster?
yeah.
How does she operate? Like it feels like the filmmakers understand if you ask them what does she do every night, they could probably answer your question about what the larger implications are, and they give you just enough to scare you with the implications.
That shot of her
But
when they come out of the bathroom is the best like single image of this film.
yeah, yeah, and that's just iconic. That image is amazing and like beautifully crafted. Uh, and the rest of it, I don't other than I do like 103198's visual effect create. I think that one is fun, but I don't know. Amateur Night's the only one that I get a wide swath of emotions from.
Yeah, it's the most effective
Uh,
horror. Like that works as like a
yeah.
good piece of horror. It's like reading a horror short story or like a something from like
Yes.
weird fiction, like Weird Tales or something. Like a just a simple story about a monster that always works, at least for us.
And the way it mixes with like the eroticism of it, like
Yeah,
how uncomfortable the situation is with those men like pushing the boundaries and then paying the ultimate price for it is like really eerie. It makes it the whole thing really uncomfortable and eerie. So yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
would echo all of that. I do love Amateur Night. I love that segment, but I do gravitate more towards Second Honeymoon just because of like the like as much as I love like monsters and weird horror, I also just like in a film sense, like I would like what I would make would probably fit more with Second Honeymoon because of how slow and like uncomfortable it is at
Mm.
times and just like taking advantage of like what is one of your fears and putting you in that POV of the like aggressor. And it's also just like yeah, just like as a tone piece, I think it's great. And yeah, those two
Yeah,
back to
that
back,
definitely is your bag.
that's definitely more my bag. But then yeah, and then yeah, I think we've said enough about the other two, but 103198 is just so much fun and it feels like the only one made by like I mean, not that Ty West and David Bruckner aren't pros, but like Radio Silence even like back then in 2012, like when this came out, seemed like those guys are the pros. Like they had the
Mm.
cleanest style, they had the cleanest like technical ability out of out of the other ones.
Yeah, I can definitely see that in this. But yeah, for me, it all adds up to being like it's a very uneven movie.
It's
Oh, and
uneven.
the through line thing is like I think starts off really interesting with these like really terrible scum of the earth like douchebags. But then it just kind of is almost
Yeah,
forgotten. I feel like it doesn't really add up to
yeah.
anything.
Then they die,
Then they die, yeah, off screen.
and then they
Um,
die. The framing narratives get more interesting in later films, especially
yeah,
when
I
it comes
remember.
back. Yeah, especially when they didn't reboot VHS. They more just like they
Like
took
a
a break
break.
after VHS 3 and then kind of like when shut like they kind of just revamped it with Shutter.
Right. Yeah, now it feels like Shutter is backing. That's absolutely what happened. Is it feels like Shutter is backing a lot of the
Like
VHS.
yeah, like oh wait, there's more
Uh,
potential in this. Let's explore it more. And that's why we're trying to get up to VHS Beyond because one literally just came out last year, and we're trying to catch up to it. But in the meantime, we get to talk about the VHS franchise, which is one of the seminal found footage franchises of they're fun ones to tackle. Even the ones that we don't like that much are interesting to talk about. Just by being part of this larger technique and subgenre. Yeah, as far as this one goes, this one definitely is the most uneven, and the critical reception kind of mirrors that too. I mean, at 58% on Rotten Tomatoes, which yeah, it sits there. Which sits in I think a spot that's right for it. Metacritic is mostly the same. Yeah, it got a pretty mixed critical reception, but still like it's funny because like even with not being the best critical reception, it still found a way to have life and it still exists today. So I think that's
move
very
forward. That's actually really good pointing out. Like it does feel like I remember VHS 2, which we'll talk more about later, feeling like a real reevaluation of what VHS should be or could be, like tonally, stylistically. It did feel like they were responding to the critical reception to this movie in some ways, the way that they structured that movie.
it's okay to like have them figure it out, as it goes along.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's VHS. Thank you again so much for listening, and yeah, we'll be back next time with VHS 2. In the meantime, Zach, you got anything to plug?
I still run an escape room called GTFO Escape Rooms in Rochester, New York, 120 East Ave. You're in the Western New York area. I mean, people travel all the way from Buffalo and stuff to come do it or make a day in Rochester. I am writing a play again, which is going to be very local here in Rochester.
But it's cool. It's cool to mention.
It is cool. It's going
It
to be a
makes
part
us
of
seem like
Fringe
we're very
Fest.
creative.
We are creative people. We are. We talk about other people's
Let's
creativity,
be a
but we ourselves are creative.
yeah. We're cool. We
Uh,
good too.
we also good. Yeah, that's what allows me to talk bad about other people's stuff is if I make my own stuff, then I can tell you your thing is shitty. Um, yeah, that's gonna be a medical horror theater piece. That is really like the brainchild of my collaborator, but that we're hopefully gonna have that performance during Rochester's Fringe Fest, which is a multi-day festival that incorporates all sorts of different performances and events and all sorts of things all across Rochester. You have to apply to get in, and that's going to be actually happening in September. So that's still a ways off if we actually make it in uh, when we submit our work. But yeah, there's going to be a bit of an immersive or interactive theater element to that one. Sun Doesn't Set was a video game I was working on. It's in hiatus right now, but hopefully, I mean, technically, it wasn't supposed to be out for another couple of years anyway. So, hey, if you're connected to the video game industry, which is exploding right now, its bubble is bursting, just like every other industry. But if you know anybody who's interested in publishing indie games, especially an RPG that is in the vein of Disco Elysium, feel free to DM me at the real Stefan Spielberg on Instagram.
Let Zach write your games. Let Zach write your games.
Oh, or yeah, I would love to be on any writing project. So yeah, that would be cool. I'm not doing enough now, so I should probably give me another project.
Awesome. You can follow me at Schiffer Audio on X. It was the first time I was like, that's the first time that X has come out of my mouth instead of Twitter. Like, that was what I was thinking about first.
You like vomited it out.
X.
It's like,
you can follow me at Schiffer Audio on Twitter and Instagram. It's the same tag. And Torchlight Audio on YouTube. Been posting some stories on there, some immersive audio fiction. The Chain God is still being worked on and should be a finished project. Its completion is on the horizon, so look out for that. You can also check out Blackwood, A Gothheim Tale, another immersive audio fiction podcast I did, which you can also find on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts. Dark Static is on Instagram at Dark Static Pod, where you can send us DMs there. You can also send us an email, darkstaticpod@gmail.com. I also made a TikTok recently, Dark Static. Let me get that up for you because they made me make a crazy ass name. Dark.static1 at dark period static 1. You can follow us on there. And yeah, we're looking forward to VHS covering VHS 2 next week. And you can follow us on YouTube. Yeah, I didn't mention the YouTube. Fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can also subscribe to us on YouTube as well, where these episodes will also be posted. And you can, feel free to put a comment in the comment section. Give us some feedback. It's always appreciated. You can also give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, wherever they let you do star ratings. And give us a comment on there as well. We'd love to hear it. But yeah, this has been Dark Static. Next time we'll cover VHS 2. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening.